If you're of a similar vintage to me, then you grew up in the peak of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles popularity. As kids, we wanted the action figures, the comics, heck, even the cereal. We would eat like a turtle, breathe like a turtle, eat like a turtle, sleep like a turtle, and even eat like a turtle. So when we heard about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the NES, we had to play it. Finally, we can be our favorite turtle and take on the Foot Clan. Only our high hopes would be destroyed when we reach that level. And even if after hours of practice we managed to save the dam, when we popped out the other side, our turtles would be on the verge of a trip to the vet. Talk about a bummer. Now I'm an adult though, and I'm challenging myself to take down the Foot Clan and finally put an end to the wicked ways of the Shredder. It started with a simple idea. What if I played through every game I ever wanted to finish? That idea became the 1K Backlog Catalog, 1,000 games across 10 consoles, and my mission to beat them all, one by one. Game number 8 in the challenge is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the NES. This one is notorious for being a fairly difficult game, so going in I was a bit nervous. However, this is one of those games I've seen a lot of people beat, and I've watched several speedruns. So going in, I do have a bit of an idea of what to expect and some tricks to try and beat this one. Released in 1989, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was developed by Konami and published by Ultra Games. Also releasing in 1989, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I'm pretty new to these films, and I really enjoyed this one. Just imagine though, you're the knight who's protecting the Holy Grail, and after 700 years, a bunch of dudes show up and just destroy the temple and leave. This is why we can't have nice things. I just imagine the knights standing around looking at the rubble like... Our turtle friends aren't looking for the Fountain of Youth though. Our heroes in a half shell are on a rescue mission. Let's get into the story and set the scene. Prepare to shell out some punishment. Steam rises from the Wall Street sewers like hot breath on a pack of wild dogs. Just below the pavement's puddle-strewn surface, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have gathered around the leftovers of a family reunion-sized sausage pizza with extra sauce. Usually these party dudes would inhale the mozzarella platter as if it was the last za on Earth, but not tonight. You see, only hours ago, their trusted friend April was kidnapped from her mobile news van by the vile, ruthless, terrorist bully Shredder. He's a slice-o-matic crumb, a villain more vicious than an army of mind-altered Bruce Lees. With their lovely cohort held hostage, the fearless foursome must concoct a way to rescue April before Shredder brainwashes her into joining his ninjutsu Foot Clan. They'll combine this treacherous task with the mission they've been set on since their mutated beginnings, to thrash Shredder and capture his life transformer gun, the lone piece of technology that can turn their rat friend Splinter back into the man he used to be. So take control of these heroes in a half shell and either claim total victory over New York's premier kickman, or lead them onto the menu at McTurtle's, home of the quarter flounder with cheese. As I traverse through the opening area of the game, let's introduce our Ninja Turtles, starting with the fearless leader, Leonardo. Leonardo's primary weapon is the hair-splitting katana blade. He's most effective when attacking sewer enemies, especially ones that lurk overhead. Raphael. The needle-tipped sai is Raphael's preferred attack tool. The speed and grace of his strikes are what he prides himself on. Michelangelo. Compared to his comrades, Michelangelo's power is only average. Enemies around his feet usually fall prey to his nunchucks onslaught, and his courage will amaze you. Donatello. The dreaded bow, not to be confused with everyone's favorite 10, is Donatello's form of amusement. Don't be fooled by the fact that it looks like a simple stick, because this baby can take out enemies both from above and below. I don't know if you picked up that Bo reference there, but that's a nod to 80s model / actress Bo Derek. Not sure how many people would remember her, as it was even a little bit before my time, but an interesting tidbit in the manual nonetheless. These first couple sewer sections have me located on 5th Avenue and Greenwich Village in New York City. This area features some pretty low-ranking enemies such as Mousers, typical Foot Clan, and what looks like some sort of robot fly. At the end of the second sewer here, we have a notable appearance of Bebop. Bebop is a well-known enemy in the Turtles universe, and in this particular part of the game, we can see April being held captive up above there by Rocksteady. As soon as we beat Bebop, Rocksteady takes April away, and we're off to chase him down. Some of these buildings here will be worth going into, and some of them won't. As you can see in this particular building, we come across a chainsaw guy. He's a pretty tough enemy early on, but If we can get past them, we can grab this slice of pizza and keep going. We've also got this guy that stands up when you get too close. I believe this is a golem. At the end of this particular building, we have a full pizza to get our health back to 100. You'll notice that when you backtrack in this game, all of the enemies have respawned, so this particular building didn't turn out to be useful at all. You'll also notice throughout the early levels, there's several of these enemies that stick to the ceiling. These guys are called stick-em-ups. These stick-em-up guys will leap down on you, so you're best off hitting them from a distance. This little power up here is a sort of invincibility. We can defeat enemies at a rapid rate, and we don't take any damage. In the early parts of this game, Leonardo proves to be pretty effective, as he can take out low-level enemies with ease, and he has pretty good range, so you can hit above and below pretty well. Another great one here is Donatello. In fact, Donatello is so useful through the entire game. He is without a doubt the most powerful and most effective turtle. And then we have Raphael and Michelangelo. Unfortunately, these two are a little bit useless for the most part. I save them for the swimming section, or I save them for jumps that are a little too risky for Donatello to take. These guys kind of are more cannon fodder than anything else. These fiery guys here are called fire freaks and can spawn little fire guys as well. So you have to take them out pretty quickly, and when you take them out, the fire freak will stop spawning more. Getting through this third sewer, we can head into this blue building, and inside we have these flying robot mosquito things. And at the bottom of the screen, there's a walking robot drone. A couple of hits with Donatello will take them out. And just to the left are two Physicali. I'm not sure how to pronounce that one, but these guys jump and throw boomerangs. Heading up this ladder, I have a few more bad guys to take out. Over the top of this stack of crates, and to the left, we find April, but it's an ambush. Rocksteady jumps down and tries to catch me by surprise. Rocksteady comes wielding a gun, but with good positioning on these crates, he stands no chance against the length of Donatello's bow. And up here, I can just chip away at his hit points. Taking out Rocksteady lets us rescue April. April tells us that the Foot Clan is planning on destroying the dam, and we have her support. Spawning right outside the dam, the only way to go is in. Entering, we have more of the same enemies with these robot flies and Mausers. A little ways to the right, I see a couple of foot soldiers, and Leo does an okay job taking them out while Donatello is low on health here. Leo attacks pretty well and does a nice sweeping attack that covers most of the area directly in front of him. While not as powerful as Don, Leo is my second favorite turtle in the game. This mini-boss, Foot Soldier, spawns when I reach the end of this area. I need to take him out before I'm allowed to continue. I pick up this pizza for Don, and now he's back over half health. I try and skip over this Foot Soldier and move on, but boss music kicks in, and I have to defeat these two foot soldiers before moving on. I use a few of the boomerangs I picked up earlier. This is one of the extra weapons I can pick up throughout the game, and I'll talk about each one when I use them. The boomerangs are nice. They give me a nice little ranged attack, and this one in particular will come back to me and I can catch and reuse them. Progressing to the end of this area, I get a full pizza, and I can use this to recharge one of my turtles. This mini boss here is one of those golem guys. They move quite slow and are easy to avoid for the most part. This jump here requires good positioning, and of course, I mess it up the first time. Fighting all the way back through the respawned enemies, I managed to make it past this jump on my second attempt. We come out on the top of the dam, and I'm about to start the dreaded swimming area. Diving in, I'm opting to use Michelangelo, as he feels like the most expendable turtle I have. I need to swim and defuse several bombs that are currently set on a timer to explode and destroy the dam. After several bombs defuse, I'm not up to a very good start. Mikey's low on health, and I need to switch to Raphael. Not only do I have to deal with electric arcing across these nodes in the water, but somehow all this seaweed is electrified, and to add to all of that, there are these sections of the water that have current that will push me in a certain direction, and I have to fight against it. It's not long and I lose Raph, and I get sent back to the starting of the area. Now I'm down one turtle, swimming back through all the seaweed and making it out to the other side. All my turtles are in a really bad way. I try to dial up my focus and manage to defuse this bomb. There's a strong current here and I have to fight against it to try and squeeze past this electrical arc. And I, unfortunately, lose Leo here. With Don and Mikey nearly dead, the writing is on the wall here, and eventually I succumb to the dam. It's like reliving my childhood trauma all over again. I can continue here and pick up from the beginning of the dam level. I get a much better run as I dive in for another shot at defusing these bombs. I try and be a lot more patient on my second attempt through here. I don't want to stress myself too much about the time remaining. I managed to fumble the controls pretty bad here and lose Leo to some boneheaded mistakes. Anyways, next turtle up. Anyone who's gotten past this part can see I'm making big mistakes letting my turtles die here, as I should be switching them out before they die. When I die, I just have to reswim these sections over and over. This is an area I improve upon upon greatly in my future runs. With plenty of time on the clock, I need to make a push through this awful electrified seaweed, and I make it past the 2 final electrical arcs to defuse the final bomb. I can now feel my inner child beginning to heal already. With the dam safe, our turtle gang heads back home and to the sewers of Victorious. As I enter, I can see that the place has been turned into a pigsty, worse than the already fecal-packed sewer that the turtles already call home anyways. Shredder comes onto the TV and he says, "Listen to me, turtles. We have taken Splinter. To get him back, you must defeat the Foot Clan. We are waiting for you. Ha ha ha." I drop in right next to the turtle van, and I can drive around this area to explore. The first thing I need to do is find some health and get my guys back into fighting shape. This is the Wall Street section of the game, and heading into my first building here, I am swarmed with enemies. The first encounter I have are against these guys called Fleetus. They go down easy with Don's bow, and the 2 guys above are Robos, who when killed have their heads pop off and fly back and forth towards you. Some well-timed hits can take them out, but if you miss them, this can get pretty annoying. Next up, there are these balloon bombers who drop bombs when you pass under them. Progressing on, I find a small pizza just to get a little health back. Heading up the stairs, I see 4 balloon bombers all lined up at once. I need to retreat, and this leads to enemies respawning, and I'm looking worse for wear. I need to try and get past or defeat them. Just at the edge, I have a full tasty za, and I can breathe a sigh of relief. At the very top here, I try and jump this gap and fail, so I'm heading back for another retry. The second time up here, I actually just try and walk over the gap, and luckily I can easily clear it. This power up here I pick up is 10 anti-Foot Clan missiles. These are used to destroy barricades the Foot Clan have set up throughout the level. These are a must-have to continue the game. Fighting my way out of here is just as challenging, but I scrape by and make it back to my turtle van. I explore the area and use my newly acquired missiles to destroy any barricades I come across. I try my best to avoid these roller cars, but eventually one of them takes me out. Only 1 turtle remains. As I'm exploring for where to go, I find this building and immediately upon entering, meet my demise. Luckily, I'm able to use a continue and get right back to it. With a fresh set of missiles, I find a new path. It's littered with roller cars that are harassing me to no end. These roller cars are very annoying. They seem to respawn and despawn near the edges of the screen. I find a new set of buildings to explore, and inside just above me is a giant frog. Don can easily take him out with his bow from here. And another new enemy is the Blood Eye. They skitter across the ground fairly quickly. Just up this ladder are 4 fire freaks, and when they start spawning little fire guys, the frame rate suffers horribly here. I managed to jump past them only to get locked into a mini boss fight just on the other side. This power up I just picked up is called the Ki. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I think most people more commonly just call this power-up the Scroll. This is the most powerful weapon in the game. Throwing one of these can take out most enemies in 1 hit and all other enemies in 2 hits. Here, I accidentally pick up ninja stars, and it immediately replaced the scrolls that I had just picked up. I need to be more careful of this in the future. I head down this ladder into the sewer and pick up the rope. This will come in handy later and is another one of these necessary items to collect in order to progress in the game. Falling into the water here throws me back out to the front of the building. I don't lose any health, just any progress I had made in that area. I head back into this building and wasn't focusing very well and lost Leo. I want to head back and grab more of these scrolls to use when I'm in a pinch. Jumping back into the turtle van, it's time to get back to exploring. Running over foot soldiers and blasting my way through all these barricades, I die and run out of missiles. So I need to make another run and grab some more. I find this building that's at a bit of a dead end, and when I head in, I immediately die. Now I'm down to my last turtle. Michael also immediately dies here. This death here is my first full reset, and to be honest, I'm pretty happy with the progress I've made so far. However, this will be the first of many resets. I make it back to this building on my next playthrough, but all my turtles are in pretty rough shape. It doesn't take long and I'm forced to use another continue, but this puts me in a better spot to make some better progress through this building. This first room of this building proves to be a challenge for me, and it takes me quite a few tries to get better and better at it. The goal here is to make it down this ladder and head into the sewers. In the sewers, there's some tricky platforming down here. When you jump, the game likes to spawn enemies at you mid-jump, so knowing when that's going to happen is very important. There are dozens and dozens of times I get knocked into the water here and reset back outside. All of these small gaps that I'm jumping over can simply be walked over, but it would take me a bit more playing until I finally realize this, and it would make the area considerably easier. When I do finally get to the end of this sewer, I am rewarded with a fat, juicy pizza. This pizza will respawn if I dip back into the sewer, and this is a crucial spot to refill my health. Entering into this north building, there's a bit more of the same enemies I've been encountering so far. Up this ladder, I reach the rooftops, and at the far side, I see Splinter dangling up in the air. He's being guarded by the boss Mecha Turtle. Mecha Turtle has a sword, and he hits pretty hard. I go in with a ninja star technique to start. I take a considerable amount of damage. When I defeat him, I believe he turns into this flying guy, but I think he's still technically the Mecha Turtle. I do manage to use Donatello and take him out first try, and I'm super happy with this result. I rescue Splinter, and I see a helicopter fly off in the distance. We drop into JFK International Airport, and there's only one big building to enter. Upon entry, just above me is an enemy called Mr. Bio. When I hit him, he splits into several smaller guys who start jumping all over. Also up here is a full pizza, and this is another great place to refill all my turtles' health. After everyone's ready to go, I start to make my way to the right, get a couple of enemies, and head up to the next level. There's another spot to grab rope if I don't already have it. Several enemies to clear, and up another ladder, and I'm able to head outside. Here is where our rope comes in handy. I can traverse across these rooftops and make my way to the next building. Now, it's time to head down and see where this building will lead. There are numbers on the doors here to help keep track of where I'm going. Outside, and just to the north, is a sewer I can enter. This actually looks a little bit more like an underground tunnel, which would make sense because this is an airport. Down this ladder is a mini boss who's nothing to worry about at all, really. Defeating him lets me head up another ladder. This area has these guns that shoot in different directions, so that's just another thing to consider as I'm progressing through the area. Also, this area features a considerable amount of treadmill or moving platforms that make the platforming quite a bit more challenging. That's not the only addition to the platforming we have here. There's now spikes and these magnets that pull you towards them. I didn't know turtles were magnetic, but there you go. The hitbox on these spikes is also not very fair. I die well mostly standing on this platform, and it ends up being a full wipe and reset. Damn you, spikes! There are several different ways to go through the airport, and some might be the wrong way or a more difficult way. Going from door 3, I get back outside. There's also planes dropping bombs now I need to avoid when I'm on the surface. Door 6 looks pretty chill at first, and then I've got enemies, guns, spikes, moving platforms. Holy crap. This next tunnel at the surface is door 8. This room is actually not too bad, and I can avoid most of the enemies and head back up. Then I find door 9. This puts me straight into a mini boss fight with a physicality. I can just stab him from above though and move on. I pop out in what looks like a big runway section. Number 13 had nothing going on, but I do think this is where some of the captured turtles can be rescued had I lost one at this point. And then there's room 14. Room 14 features everything bad about this level. This room will be an absolute nightmare. I lose Mikey into the fire pit, but luckily I can backtrack to room 13, grab him quick, and try this again. I lose Mikey yet again. Then Leo, Raph, and finally, Donatello dies to the fire. On my next run, I take a different route. I'm at room 15 here. Since room 14 was a bit of a nightmare death trap, I figure there's no harm in trying a different way. 15 is filled with guns, moving platforms, and this is all the cherry on top of the already existing enemies I have to dodge along the way. At the end of this room is, of course, a fire pit, right next to a moving platform. I somehow managed to fall straight into the fire, so not off to a good start. I do manage to make this jump on my next try, but trust me when I tell you, I die many times here. It is a ridiculously hard jump for me to master. I have the choice between tunnel 16 or 17. I think bigger number equals better, so why not go for 17? All the familiar obstacles and enemies are here, only once I get to this part here, I have to drop down, everything changes. I have this small slice of pizza here, but dropping down one more time, and now these walls are closing in on me. Getting hit one time in this section would cause me to instantly die. I managed to make it down to the next room, and it's the same jagged walls closing in. I somehow managed to squeeze my way down and out of here first try. I wouldn't be so lucky all the time though. At the bottom, I can move to the right and enter room 18. Room 18 is a boss fight with a big giant Mauser. If you've ever seen anyone beat this game before, or ever seen any speedruns of this game, then you know this is the easiest boss in the game. This giant Mauser stands in one place, and when he opens his mouth, he drops smaller Mousers. But also when he opens his mouth, there's a little globe inside that I need to attack. And with Donatello's bow, we can just stand under him, and the reach on the bow is long enough we can consistently do damage to him every time he opens his mouth. Easy peasy. After the fight, we see all of our turtles heading into the turtle blimp, and time passes from day to night as we head off to Shredder's base in the South Bronx. With nighttime upon us, I need to explore my way through this base while avoiding searchlights flying above. Entering into this first building here is an eagle holding a rock, and another eagle swooping down at me. I see this spider on the wall, and just above it is a nice half of pizza. This is another great place to fill up health for all of my turtles. Dropping down into the floor here and heading past these spikes, I find Raph, who I can rescue and add back into the team. I head up north and have a look at this building. I do a bit of exploring, but I don't spend too much time here before moving on. I find this sewer in the northeast area and I drop down to check it out. This enemy that rolls into a ball and comes towards me is called a rolling ale, or a rolling gale, something like that. I'm not exactly sure what these guys are who are hanging from the ceiling. The rolling gale eventually falls down the ladder and I can head down as well. I can break my way down again and the next room is empty, so it's a free trip down yet again. New enemy here called the jellyfish, but he's not in my way, so I move on and try and break my way through this door, all while being harassed by this rolling ale. On the other side is this door with a Foot Clan logo above it. Now this is the door we're looking for. This, if it's the correct door, will lead us into a boss fight. Unfortunately, this is not the correct door we're looking for, so the best way forward is backward. We head all the way back and we're searching for another Foot Clan door. I take the time to heal all my turtles back to full health before continuing the search. Find another tunnel in the southeast and proceed to fight my way along. The enemies in this level are a bit stronger and generally more annoying to deal with, so I do try and avoid them while I make my way to this Foot Clan door. This is also not the door we are looking for, so it's time to head back to the surface, recoup, and look for the next tunnel. In the southwest near the railroad tracks, I find the next tunnel to explore. This here has a new enemy and looks a bit like a porcupine. This is called a needle beast. He can roll and throw needles at me. This guy took 3 hits from Donatello's bow before finally taking him out, and I use Raph as cannon fodder to push my way forward as far as I can until I'm forced to switch him out. I make a bit more progress with Mikey until I finally come across the next Foot Clan door. Door number 3, and third time's the charm. Slowly rolling in from the right is the Technodrome, shooting electricity at the front as well as Foot Clan dropping in continuously. This fight will be a tough one. I'm trying to throw boomerangs, but it doesn't look all that effective here. As it rolls in closer, I take the opportunity to advance up, and as I do, I see that there's a couple of mounted guns as well as tracks acting like a moving platform. There's a lot going on in this fight, needless to say, and my first attempt is not going very well. I do manage to take out one of the guns and start to focus on the other one. Taking out the second gun is a big sigh of relief. I can turn my focus to the area where the Foot Clan are spawning. Hacking and slashing away, I start taking damage, but I fail to realize soon enough, and this death here is a devastating blow, as it sends me all the way back to the beginning of this level. I'll take this time to explain the Technodrome spawn and the 3 Foot Clan doors. The Technodrome can spawn at any of these 3 doors, and it's determined by when you hit the start button on the title screen at the beginning of the game. Some spawns are more favorable than others, and if you knew exactly when to hit the start button, you could make sure that you would get the best spawn each time. However, I don't have that information, but maybe someone in the comments knows a bit more about it than me. It would take approximately 4 hours of game time before I would make another good run at the Technodrome. There are many sections of this game that still prove to be quite challenging. This run here, I try and focus heavily on hitting the eye at the top of the Technodrome. Eventually, after cycling through almost every turtle, I'm able to dish out enough damage to take out the Technodrome. After beating the Technodrome, we jump inside and we move on to the next level. My turtles are in pretty rough shape, but this is new progress. Inside the Technodrome, I can smell the stench of Shredder, and I land right in front of a foot soldier, as well as a bunch of these enemies with jetpacks, who shoot what looks like are lasers. I know for speedruns that these jetpack guys are best avoided if possible. I jump down this ladder and these flying, spinning things take me out. With all of my turtles at such low health, it's not long before they all reach a similar fate. I'm very fortunate here to have it continue, and I can make another good shot at making some progress in here. Traversing through the labyrinth that is the Technodrome is a non-stop onslaught. The enemies here are numerous and relentless. This level makes the rest of the game seem easy by comparison. My goal here is just to keep pushing forward and not stress too much about clearing enemies. There are some sections with spikes that are cheap, and you'll take damage no matter what, but what I need to do is just keep pushing through. I find a doorway and move to the next area. There's a bit of a quiet part here with a few enemies, and then I drop down into this area that's got caution markings and warning signs all over, and this is where things get hectic again. Flying enemies, projectiles, this is where I lose Leo. A death anywhere in here will send me all the way back to the beginning of this level. I do manage to get back here, and I'm just trying to sprint past all these guys and drop down here. This part is so full of enemies that the frame rate starts to bog down, and this could be the reason why some of these guys aren't throwing their boomerangs at me. I'll take any small win I can get right now. Just ahead of me is another door. This next area is filled with all flying enemies. These jetpack guys are the biggest problem. There's a ledge here and the room begins to narrow. With everyone getting low on health, I fear that my time is almost up. I slowly lose each turtle one right after another. This reset is a big one, but I know there are areas of the game I can still improve on and hopefully get back here better equipped. I get back here and I'm able to punch ahead a tiny bit more as I approach another section where the room narrows yet again. Donatello dies here though, and this hallway of doom will continue to be a punish. In my next run, I wouldn't even get this far. After trying and failing many times to get past this point, I decide to stock up on special weapons. I put together a run where I have several scrolls I can unleash down this hallway, strategically trying to duck and throw scrolls. I make enough progress to get to the narrowest part of the hallway, and I've only got Donatello, who's not nearly dead. I get to the end of this hallway and I can finally head up this ladder. Killing this jetpack guy up here lets me move on to this doorway. Inside is the final boss, Shredder. Shredder spawns in from this lightning like an absolute badass. I'm standing on this slightly lower platform using Donatello's bow to try and reach and hit him from a distance. I do get a couple of hits in, but I don't even move his health bar. I switch to these throwing stars and I manage to knock him off the platform. With these throwing stars, I can keep throwing and knocking him down, and he's got no chance to fight back. This is wild. This is not what I would have expected. I didn't think this would be as effective as it was. As Shredder falls into his fiery death, I am so excited to have finally beat this one. At the end here, we have Splinter talking to us, and he says, "You defeated Shredder and saved the world. Now I can turn back into my human form." Splinter then proceeds to morph into a 65-year-old man. Splinter is out here looking like Uncle Owen from Star Wars. Splinter's actually worried about the next harvest, and he's gonna need all the turtles in the field next season. It's such an anticlimactic transformation. April then proceeds to thank us and suggests we celebrate with a pizza. Honestly, pizza's always a great suggestion. And this is the end of the turtle adventure, so let's get into the pros and cons. All right, let's get into the cons, starting with the most obvious one, and that's the difficulty. It is a challenging but rewarding game, but if you're the type of person who gets put off by harder games, more difficult games, this one's not for you. Also, the turtles here are not balanced at all. Donatello is the most powerful and has the best range, which makes him the go-to for most situations. Let's get into the pros. The game controls really well, and I'm always a fan of the ability to jump and then adjust that jump in midair, and you can do that here with a lot of nice precision. The music here is also really good. Even if we are missing that iconic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme, the rest of the music is fantastic. And for my final pro, there's a ton of enemy variety here. Some new stuff, some familiar faces, but most importantly, all the bosses are the ones you grew up with. Your Bebop, your Rocksteady, your Shredder. The staples are here. If I had to give Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles a score today, I'd probably give it a 7. I think that if you can be patient and overcome the difficulty, this is definitely worth a play. As far as the difficulty though, I'd have to give this an 8 out of 10. This is the type of game that requires a lot of practice. I think most people will lose interest just because of how difficult it is. However, it's extremely rewarding to beat a game from my childhood that I didn't have the patience for as a kid. As much as I like the game, this is a hard one for me to recommend unless you enjoy this sort of challenge. With Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles beat, I did a random draw to choose the next game, and the next game is Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers. And I'll admit, this one is not what I was expecting. I want to thank everybody for all of your support. Your likes and your subscriptions, every time you comment, I try and reply because it's nice to hear from fellow gamers. So if you guys want to see what's coming up next, hit that subscribe button and I will see you in the next video.